Hello, humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. At least the business portion of this scam is dead. Right? Put it in your calendar. It's today. Man, it's been... How long has it been, guys? Since 2018, right? And this is Thursday, May 15th, 2025. It's dead. This is dead. Now, people that have invested and been calling this a scam for the longest time can do it without any worries, right? Because the company is dead. Now, what I'm about to tell you, just like always, just like the good old days, this is not legal advice of any kind. No, it's not financial advice either. It's just the sad demise of the great leader's company, right? The great leader whose company was taken away from him and his dream because he wasn't making enough money. Now, the people who took over ran it right into the ground. This is going to be a legal fight, in my opinion, of epic proportions. Why do I say that? Well, let's look at what's being put out there. First of all, shout out to the Intellivision _Amico Reddit user Paraclaw posted this picture, which for investors, people that have any interest, is quite devastating. There's a tax bill due of $440,198.73. Those taxes weren't paid. Were not paid. This was incorporated in January of 2022. And of course, the Intellivision started before that, so, who knows where this is going? In addition to this, right, they're also reporting that California Tax Board suspended them for delinquency, and this was really the final entity of Intellivision, right? Intellivision Amico remaining. Now, who are on these documents? Phil Adam, Sudesh, Stephen Rooney, Tommy Tallarico, y Juan Alvarado. Right? Not John Alvarado. No, Juan M. Alvarado. Ay, Juanito. Ay, Juanito, ¿en qué te metiste? ¿En qué te metiste, Juanito? Te van a chingar. And now Juanito is heading this project. What you doing, Johnny? What you doing, huh? Now, initially, I thought that they were going to do this to raise more capital. My opinion now has changed that they want to keep on milking the cow. Who's going to pay this over here, right? Let me just give you my lay person's opinion, right? Lay person's opinion based on being a businessman, specifically in California, right? Over the years, probably more than 20 years experience, right? And tell you what these things could mean. Again, this is not legal or financial advice of any kind, right? Don't listen to people on the internet, or you're going to end up like these people here, like poor Juanito, that's heading a company that's in financial ruin. While he presented the boxes, right? He made himself the face of the company now. So the trolls are already going at it. This information now is a couple of hours old, so you guys make your own guesses of where this is going. But let's talk about what happens to companies, right? So I'm not going to get too technical, guys, but I need to tell you some things that this has implications on. When you have a company like this and it's suspended for this type of thing, like when an LLC is suspended by a state authority, right? Man, it's not good news, right? It really isn't a good news. So let me tell you this. You lose the legal right to operate, right? You cannot defend yourself in court. Right, so hopefully that any court cases got resolved already. You can't enter into new legal contracts. Right? What else? Well, penalties and interest, of course. You got over $440,000 here that are going to accrue interest and payments, right? And late payment penalties. You could have liens and levies. They can go after the property, whatever property's left. That's why I imagine they transferred the property out to Happy Home Games, right? I mean, what are these people going to do? When you're involved in this kind of stuff, if you're not Tommy Tallarico, right? Anybody else, this is pretty hard to walk away from, right? I already told you, the followers of the great leader are not going to care about this. Number one, because he's not at the helm right now. Right? Legally, I don't know what the legalities are, but in the public's view, right, this is all after Tommy. Right? There's no way Tommy can get blamed for this because he was out in 2021. That's when they pushed him out. That's just my opinion. Right? That's part of the reason they did this, is to get him out of the loop. But of course, they can suffer, liens on the business assets, levy bank accounts. That's why you have new Happy Home Game bank accounts now. Now, guys, and this varies by state, right? But even if you have an LLC, right? Even with an LLC, in cases of willful neglect, right, or fraud. Again, I'm not saying that this is happening here, okay? No, nobody get their panties in a bunch, right? But in some cases, people can be found personally liable for unpaid taxes, especially if they're like payroll taxes, sales taxes. You can't you can't walk away from that, right? And then of course, you have intentional things that people can claim, especially investors, right? If investors out there are claiming intentional fraud, then that puts it in a whole new other dimension, right? I don't think anybody that's involved with this company is looking to pay almost $500,000 in taxes. I mean, what? Can you imagine this kind of money? These guys have not been paying taxes. According to these guys, the entity has been suspended, hasn't existed since 2024. Right? They're locked out of government transactions. If the entity is suspended, this is nuts. Let me tell you, in California does not mess around. California wants their taxes before people even pay for the product. Before you even pay for the product, they are active. They go after you right away. They do not mess around, let me tell you. So what is going to mean for the CEO, Phil Adam, for manager or member name, Sudesh, we got Stephen Rooney, we got Tommy Tallarico, and Juan Alvarado, right? But this is back from 2018, right? I believe, this is my belief, that when they started here with this new entity, that's when all this started, right? Tommy was involved in this setup here, right? But this is when these guys stopped paying, right? When they created this entity, that's when they went into this, right? That would be what I would deduce based on the evidence. And I'm sure that if it ever got to court, that would be Tommy's defense. Hey, they pushed me out. They took over the company. I wasn't making the decisions, and obviously he hasn't, because they really pushed him to the side. Once Phil Adam took over, right? That's why you're CEO. And I don't know what they promised this guy to take over this company, but you don't want these kind of problems. You don't, right? So mark your calendar. Today is the day the Amico is dead. My wood grain dreams are gone. Jesus Christ. Frog Tony, your shell just became more valuable. You're getting ROI now. Man, where's it going to go from here? What explanation are you going to give? All the believers, the Amico home, the testers, where you're at. Where are you at? I need you to explain this to me. Explain it to the people. Let me tell you guys, and I'm not just sitting here crushing on dead bodies. If you really want to make, and I'm speaking to all of you, if you really want to get your integrity back, what you have to do is come clean and say what they told you, right? Because none of you, not one single person out there was saying that these guys weren't paying their taxes. And it's because you didn't know. You have to stop carrying water for these people. You have to point the finger, right? And you have to say where they lied to you, specifically when they took over and kicked Tommy out. Because that's when this occurred. Right? I'm not here to absolve Tommy of anything that's that he could have done or said. Right? That's part of the entertainment. But he can't be held accountable for after him not being the CEO because he's not pulling the strings. Right? He doesn't have the purse strings at that point. He's not the one saying don't pay taxes. Right? He was involved right here. He wasn't involved when they, formed this new entity. How this is going to fold out in court, I don't know. Right? But all the people involved, you need to come clean. You need to tell the truth. Stop covering for these guys. People got scammed. It's right here. It's right here. I'm never going to see my money for my down payment, and I don't care, right? This is part of my show. That's the reason I did it. But there's people out there that really needed their money, right? That money meant something to them, whether they invested. Not everybody is in my position. Let me tell you, I know the value of $1. I went to college eating with $1 a day, so I know what $1's worth. These people lost their money, and they lost their money specifically because of YouTubers building confidence in this company. Everybody needs to apologize because the guys that actually took the money and never gave it back, they never will. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.